Welcome back to Claimed by Him Season 2. I'm Lisa Keeton, and I'm thrilled to continue this walk with you as we explore faith through the lens of everyday life. From heartfelt devotionals to personal reflections, this season is all about discovering what it truly means to live a life claimed by God. So, welcome to Beginner's Guide for Christianity, where faith meets life. We are here to share our experiences of receiving healing in the Father's house through witnessing and testimonies. I am your host, Lisa Keeton, and we are honored to have Ina Walker with us.
Hello.
Welcome. How are
Thank you
you?
for having me. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for being a part. So, Ina is a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a manager, a friend, but most of all, she's a daughter of Zion. She sometimes has to be reminded, but always thankful that he knows best and what he holds, and that he holds the key to her future. Our topic today is die to self as you let God. And so she's going to share her journey of dying to self as she allowed God to do what he needed to do.
Yes, he did. As a young girl, I knew the Lord. I accepted Jesus into my heart at a VBS at the age 4.5. I still don't. It boggles my mind at 4.5 what in the world was going through my mind, and I remember it vividly. I remember being baptized and
Oh,
growing up in the church and being imperfect and just seeking God and wanting him to do all the things that he said he would do in his word. And you go through the teenage years and things
mhm.
get kind of shaky and you see things through a different way. And I think that's the time that the enemy a lot of times like to really come in and mess with your mind and try to redirect you. So anyway, as a young person, I guess I was 20, 21, I got pregnant and we, got married kind of out
Wow.
of turn. And then in 1998, my life just turned upside down. My mother who lived with me, I was very close to her. We found she only had 6 months to live. We had already been through a cancer scare the year before where they took out her stomach, but it metastasized. And back then, we didn't
Mm,
really know what to do. So they said, your mom has 6 months to live. Well, 3 months after
wow.
that, my husband says, I don't want to be married anymore. I had a
Mm,
2-year-old son. It just started college. I mean, it was a lot. So within that time frame, I had a friend, my mom's friend said, I want you to come to my church 2 weeks later. And it's just God's plan. Like
right.
that happened around Thanksgiving, and literally 2 weeks later, I was in the church, in this holiness church, listening to a guy talk about generational curses and how different
Mm,
things affect our lives. And the next thing you know, I'm experiencing this newness, and I didn't even know it was happening, and just so deliverance in so many levels. So even though my story there, it
yeah.
didn't turn out peaches and cream, which there are times where our stories just do not. My
Right.
mother did pass away. My
Mm,
husband did leave. I have a
mm.
whole nother testimony about that for anyone who wants to know how to overcome the deep, deep hurt of your spouse leaving you and doing things.
Especially in
But
a time of need.
yeah,
Your mom
yes.
was sick. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I literally went through two deaths at once. And
Yeah.
that's why dying to self is so real to me
Hmm.
because I literally experienced two deaths at once. At times, I didn't know which one hurt the worst, to be very honest. And I love my mother. She was the best of the best. And
Right.
so, anyway, that's where my spiritual journey, I had the word,
Yes, because you had it
growing up.
from, you said 4.5, you were baptized?
Yes,
You were in
yes.
the church?
Yes, and not a lot of religion, just a natural, I didn't have a lot of rhetoric and things on me. I really just naturally wanted to learn about what God's word says. I didn't have a lot of people, throwing it down my throat. It wasn't anything like that. It was just very authentic. And
And pure.
again, made
Mhm.
bad decisions, did things that sinners do, but in all, his love, it's that
Yeah.
love that covers. If you
Yeah.
can receive it, if you can just receive it in spite of
Yes.
the indifferences and the things, that's the key there. And that's what I think dying to self, when you can go through those things. I didn't try to manipulate. I just said, Lord, here I am. I am lost. I don't know which way is up. I don't know which way is coming, but I'm going to trust you. And it
Right.
did take some, you know, it did take some letting go of things in my mind. I loved my family. That's what I wanted. Like, I had to let go of some of those preceptions that I put in my mind for my
Right.
life and give to him.
When you were talking, what I just saw was Hannah. Hannah in the church or in the temple, just praying like, like she looked like she was drunk. This priest thought she was drunk. So that's the image that just came up.
Mhm.
And so because that hurt is so deep down
Yes.
that, it's like agony. And so
It
yeah.
really is a threshing floor. That was back in the day when Juanita Bynum was out and her No More Sheets was out, and she had a book called The Threshing Floor, and that literally, like, I was by myself. I had friends around, but there were many nights I was in my living room and God was doing surgery on me. But
Mm,
that can't happen unless you say, because it's
yes.
painful. It is
Yeah.
it is painful, but he is in the midst of that
Yes.
sorrow and suffering. He can be in the midst of that, and I'm telling you, something wonderful and golden comes out of that.
Wow. So did you finish school or what
I
happened with
did
school?
not. So that's a part of my other journey that I'm still
Right.
on, is learning to care for myself. And I don't
Mhm.
put myself first well at all. I get so much joy from seeing other people do well. I have so many gifts. He's blessed me with so many gifts that I just use here and there and everywhere. So I'm working on that piece.
Right.
For 20 years, I was single, doing, raising my son, a son. I didn't
Right.
know about men. I didn't know what to do. So I had to trust the Lord in that too.
That's
I,
true.
I had to seek him all the time on how to do it. And sometimes I didn't do it right. And then,
Right.
we grew up in church, and at 16, well, really 15, he came to me just despondent. I mean, he was so downtrodden because he said, Mom, I am the worst. I did this thing. And we found out there was a young lady pregnant. First time.
Oh, wow.
First
First
time. He
time.
was the Christian boy. So the Christian boy is having this baby, and that is a whole nother. So I was a single mom,
But it's a
and
lot of
now
us,
and now I'm a single grandmom, right?
right?
So
Wow.
yes, she's beautiful. 2 months into her life, the Lord told me that she was my legacy. Like, I literally heard him speak to me and say,
Wow.
Ina, this is your legacy. Her feet are big like mine. And just that new and if anybody is a grandparent, there's nothing like those grandbabies.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a whole different,
So I
it was a whole
became
different world.
it is. You have that second chance to do it better with them. And
Yes.
my son would look at me and say, I know you didn't just let her do that, and you didn't let me do that. And
Grandparents get that a lot.
a lot, a lot.
Yes, yes. But
So,
you grow, you learn as you
yeah,
grow. And
yes.
so, yeah, you can do it a little differently this time. And plus, usually you send them home. But
Now that's the caveat to my story. I could
right.
not send her home because
Oh,
I
she was
became
home.
mom.
Okay.
Yes, I became mom, and my son was dad.
Right.
And so he evolved. He's a young man now. He's married with a daughter. I have
Hmm.
my second grandbaby,
Oh, wow.
but that first grandbaby is my baby. And
Right.
so even in that, and having to navigate and ask the Lord, I remember so many times, Lord, don't let this be my will.
Hmm.
This has to be your will. So that's
Yeah.
even dying again, making sure that I'm checking myself, that I'm not thinking I'm the end all be all. This is my will. This is what I think. I tried to be so careful even in that. She's still with me
Right.
and she's flourishing. She's been to Europe for 2 weeks, and she's a light within herself. She loves the Lord and is learning his
Right.
ways, and it's just amazing. And that's the thing. Even though something may look a certain way,
Right.
it might look, a lot of people like to judge and think they know,
Right. But they
but
don't.
sometimes you don't know.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
You
But
don't
her
know.
dad is in a very important part of her life, though, right?
He is very
Yeah,
much
that's
so.
good. That
Yes.
is good. So he didn't
Yes.
create a whole new family and then leave a family.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. You know what? And I don't say this because I'm his mother, because I'm one of those mothers that say, look at yourself. What did you do? But
Right.
even at 16, he was one of the best dads that he could be. He has his own journey and his own
Right.
struggles, and he's overcoming his own things, but he does love. He knows how to love. And that's one thing my best friend Jody, when I would sometimes get anxious about, oh my gosh, I did this, I messed my child up, it's the point of no return. She said, Ina, your love covers so
Yes.
many things. And I'm telling you, Lisa, let me tell you, we had those moments right around 14 is when it started getting, and now at 27, he'll be 28 in July. He tells me, I love my mom. I tell people at
Mm,
work how much I love my mom. And it was to the point, he started that around 25, where he would come to me and just start telling me how much he loved me
wow.
and appreciated me, to the point where I had to check myself because I had protected myself from those other feelings so much. I had to say, Ina, wait, you have to open up your heart to
Yes.
receive this new thing from him. And so
Yes.
how many times as moms are we like, all right, I don't care. And, trying to make sure that we're strong,
Right.
that sometimes we block out the things
The
that
good
we're really,
things.
yeah, that we're really
Yes.
supposed to be learning.
Yes. That's a blessing. And that's a blessing that she's thriving and that she's with
Yeah.
you and that you're okay with that and that your son
Oh,
is okay with that. And
yes.
so, yeah, as long, she's a part. She has a little brother or a little sister,
She has a little sister.
a little sister. Yeah.
Yes, she's beautiful. I get to see her every other weekend, and it's a whole nother legacy. She has my feet too.
Oh.
But the Lord told me she was going to walk strong like her grandmother. And the
Right.
same thing for the second one. And I give that testament to him because there's so many other choices I could have made very easily,
Yes. Yes.
and set and really sometimes the things that we do, whether we know them or not, whether we can appreciate them or not, they do affect our kids. That generation, you know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yes.
affected from things. My father, I just did an ancestry for him because he did not know his father.
Right.
He'll be 90.
Oh, wow.
He'll no, he is 90. He's 90 now. Great
Right.
health, but in all those 90 years never had a connection. And next month we plan on seeing his siblings that he never knew.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
That's
yes.
going to be interesting.
It is. He's so excited, but I found out my grandfather was a bishop.
Oh,
And then he has children who are bishops and preachers, and just even and it looks to me like even though there was such a disconnect,
right.
we're still connected.
Yes. Yes. Through
The
God
things
has a way, don't he?
he does, he really does. He
And he
really
has
does.
a way of passing down that legacy too, because they're your uncles and they are doing what your grandfather did. And they
Yes.
yes. And you're strong in the Lord.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes,
it runs all through the family.
it does.
So
When you
that
can deny that part of you that wants to do what you want to do, and that dying to self, it just really comes back to that. Paul talked about it. y- when you can really allow the Lord to get into those deep places and
yeah.
really trust him, because it does take trust to get
Yes.
to those spots where you can say, okay, Lord, you have your way. And I can tell you he does the work and it comes out okay in the end. So many
Wow.
times I've been afraid and freaking out and not knowing, and then I can just sit down and be still and say, okay, Lord,
And then you have those girlfriends in your life too that
I
help you.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. He knows what you need.
Yes.
You don't really have to seek for much,
Right.
because if you can sit back, he'll bring you just what you need. And I had that support in those 20 years of being single. And then all of a sudden, I'm here with me and my granddaughter. We're together and we're working our way to Charlotte and we're coming to live in a new place. And after 20 something years, I meet my husband.
Wow.
Just amazing. And we married within a year.
Oh wow.
And yes, and his love that he's been able to give to me is even still healing me now
Oh,
from
that's good.
things.
That
Yeah.
is good. So you didn't carry over any kind of baggage or any kind of bitterness from your first
No,
marriage to your
no.
second?
And I think that's about the healing. I think that's the
Yeah.
healing piece that for me in that area of my life. Now, other areas, I might be weak in, but realizing that there are things that I'm sure I've done to others that I didn't mean to do. Just
Right.
because your brother does aught against you or does something against you, and it's not always because they hate you. They may have issues within themselves. So to
True.
take on that, sometimes you have
Mhm.
to repel those things
Yes.
and say, you
Mm.
know what, I'm gonna forgive them because they may not even know what they just did.
That's true. That's what Jesus did on that cross, right?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And it sounds cliche, but it really is real if you can get down to inside of yourself and find out, you know what, why is that bothering me? Okay, why am I offended at that?
Mhm.
When you can really look at it and say, you know what, Lord, I'm just as jacked up in some ways. If I need your forgiveness for me. So in order to forgive, what does the word say? We have to be
Yeah.
willing to forgive in order for us to be forgiven. I'm sorry,
Yes.
we have to forgive. And I think that was a big part of that's a big part of my story. I want to be forgiven. I know I'm imperfect. And so
Mm.
when I see someone else doing art, I'm not going to automatically just, you know,
Assume that it's negative against you. And
yes.
that's good because a lot of times we do take it personal.
Hmm.
Sometimes it is personal. But you
Right.
know what? It's not
Yes.
about what the person is doing, it's about how you respond.
Right.
And so
Yes.
you can choose to hold on to it in your heart and have bitterness and envy and strife and whatever going on, or you can choose to say, you know what, Lord, I'm just going to give this to you and lay this at the altar and let you deal with it how you see fit and not
Yes.
me sit here and try to deal with it on my own humanness.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Because that's
Yeah.
the enemy's plan. It's
Mhm.
knowing the different plans too.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
God has a plan and the enemy has a plan. And the things that happen in our lives, a lot of the negative things is the enemy's plan. But God he is God of all things.
Yes,
You
he
know,
is.
when the Pharaoh told, Moses, I'm not letting your people go. I'm not letting your people go. God's
Mhm.
word said that God is the one that touched his heart to do that. And
Yeah.
I always try to remember that. Lord, you can touch my enemy's heart.
Yes.
So let me not try to make sure I'm trying to touch their hearts in a bad way.
That's a good story. That is a good way to put it because yeah, a lot of times we want to touch them ourselves,
Yes,
and
we do.
that's not God's way. And so, the first marriage and your husband, your first ex-husband, has a good relationship with his son, and
Yes. So even though it was a again, if so, some of the worst offenses I would say has
okay.
happened. I've had to face a lot of offense,
Mhm.
but I wanted my son to know that what love really was.
Mhm.
And I tried to respect we're still close. I still am close to my in-laws.
Okay.
We were all hanging out. His dad came to my home a couple of weeks ago to see our granddaughter.
Well, that's
So
good.
even in that, you can walk in
Mhm.
that healing. You can walk in that, even though you don't have to love what the person did. But I always felt like he had a good heart. That's just in spite of maybe the actions. The same way with me. There might be some
Right.
of my actions that seems like I might be the worst person in the world, but that's not who I am. And so
Right.
I try to believe the best. The word says believe the best, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I do try to do that with people every day.
And that's good. I mean, because the walk in love, that's what walking in love is. The looking for the good or the best in the situation and not so much focus on the bad in the situation.
Yes.
So if you look at the glass, I guess half full instead of
Yeah.
always looking at it as half empty. And that is a blessing. That's a blessing that you have that mindset and that
Yes.
God has given you that spirit of forgiveness that he's given you to be able to let things go and not hold on to the past.
Right. Yes. Yes. I
So
appreciate it too.
yeah. So how old is your grandbaby? You said she went to Europe.
She did. Last year, her best friend's mom invited her on a trip to Europe. two
Wow.
weeks they went to London and Paris and Rome and Italy, in Italy, and they went to Venice. I mean, just mind blowing. So I believe that may have been a doorway. Maybe when she grows up, I don't know what she'll
Right.
do.
So have you been to
Yes,
those places? Now she
I
done
have
been somewhere
not.
you
I have not. I have only been within the United States. So it made me so happy to
right.
see her be able to do that. And it took a lot of faith for me too.
Yes.
Sometimes we have to, our kids to the Lord as well.
Yes.
in the things that they do, because they have their own path. And a lot of times, you know, not a lot of times, but there are times where as parents, we think we know best and we have to do it this way. And sometimes we have, you really have to put your kids here and say, Lord, here you are.
Yes. In the palm of his hand. Yes.
Yes. There's
Yes.
fears of things that have happened to us. I have friends who are so fearful they don't want their kids, including myself. We don't want our kids to follow in some of our wrong footsteps,
Mhm,
but they
mhm.
do have their own path to walk.
That is true. We each have our own journey. And
Yeah.
so you just got to trust God.
Yes.
Even when it don't look good to us, you still got to trust
Yes.
God. Yes.
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
have one who's away and it's like, oh my God, just cover her. I just cover her in the blood. Just every time I pray, every day I'm praying for her. I'm like, Lord, just cover her and keep her safe and
Yeah.
protect her and be with her and guide her. And that's all that you can ask him to do
Yeah.
and believe that he's going to do it and have
Yeah.
faith. Yeah.
Yes, especially because they have their own choices to make. And I find that, especially now, the times are changing. So these kids nowadays, it's almost like they really believe they're mini adults. And I guess they are. Back in our day, we were not many adults.
Yes,
We
no.
were children. You didn't speak. And then now we have these kids that speak sometimes too much. But we know what that's like. Even with my granddaughter, I want her to be strong in who she is
Mhm.
and not be so timid. Whereas
Right.
for me, I feel like sometimes I can be a little bit timid. So it's having that balance.
That is true. And I think a little bit earlier we talked about being that superwoman, right? We
Yeah.
can't be all things to everybody all the time. We
Yeah, I think
do
I have.
have to take care of ourselves.
I have not arrived there. I'm still working on that part.
Right.
Wanting to make sure that everyone is okay, because when you do have natural gifts, it's easy to just use them. But it's
Mhm.
also important to be able to know when to hold them back or to pour them into yourselves. And that is where I am in my journey.
You have to pour back into you. Yes.
Yes,
Or
I
allow
do.
God to fill you. Yes.
Yes, yes. And one way that he does that, what I'm finding, is through my choices about myself.
Yes.
So that is the part that, at almost 50 years old, I am really trying to get that. And not only because of me, but my little one, she's watching
Yes.
me. I want her to know how it is so important for us to pour out, but you have to be able to receive as well.
Yes. And yeah, it's give and take. It's not
Mhm.
always give, 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 give. And
Yes.
so I think we mentioned that about our grandmothers and how
Yeah.
they were always giving, always,
Yes.
food. It was always somebody's cooking. There's always people coming in to eat. And it was just
Yes.
always constantly serving. And in
Yeah.
that generation, that was fine. But in our generation, we're outside the home working. You can't be constantly at home cooking all the time. People don't
Right.
rotate in all the time. You
Right.
can't be that superwoman like that
Yeah. I've
because
been a
you
property.
wear
Yeah.
you
Yes. I've been a property manager for 20 something years now. And that is a business. It is not a business for the weak.
out.
And, I remember coming home and just, I didn't have anything. I did
Yes.
not have anything for my son. I think about those things and now I'm like, Lord, just cover up all those days, because it is
Mhm.
very tough, especially when you're dealing with pain and you have those dark days or PMS days, your
Mhm.
hormones are all over the place.
Yes.
And so, even in that, giving yourself the grace to be able to say, you know what, I'm not superwoman and I can't do it all. And that's
Mhm.
okay too.
It is okay. Because I remember coming home from work a lot of times and my daughter wanted to play or something. And I was a single mother. And it was just like, oh my God, I'm wore out. I don't have anything,
Yes.
to give you right
Yes.
now. And
Yes.
we talked about it recently. And she was telling me how much that hurt her. And all I can say is, I'm sorry. I'm like,
Yes.
and so, now that she's older, I try to explain it to her. And then the other
Yes.
day, one of her friends called her and she's like, Mommy, I don't feel like being bothered with them. I'm not answering that. And I said, see, now you.
Yes. I think with my son, with him having that new baby,
Right,
that, and now it's on his own. Before it was him and I, we were really tag teaming. We worked
right.
together. I called him dad. I no longer called him son.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different relationship. I remember him being young and I was like, son, you're getting a car. You have to work. Like, these are things you have to do now. Your life has changed. And
Yeah.
it's gonna make me almost want to cry because I feel like that he, at a teenager, he had to grow up so fast.
Yes.
And that can create a lot of anger and things, and it's so many things that go along, emotions that go along in life. And I think now that he has his daughter and he sees the sacrifices that he makes for her, I think he sees me in a totally different way. His wife told me years ago, she said, Ina, I don't think he sees you like a human.
Superwoman, huh?
He never really saw me crying. I doubt,
Right.
because I didn't want to put my junk on
Mhm.
him. I didn't want him to be feel responsible, because that's how I felt for my mom, responsible for her well-being.
Right.
And so, she said, I don't know if he really sees you as, he just sees you as the provider, the one that does all these things. And now, so I encourage anyone who is in that weird place where you have children that, you're in that, they're growing up, but they really don't really know. It does come full circle. If you've
It,
given them your love, it will come full circle, because I'm experiencing that now.
one thing that I like about what you said, but you have to show them that you are human.
Yes.
You have to, I didn't show my daughter that I was human either. So she thought I was super mommy or
Right.
whatever. And it's just like, you know what? No, I have emotions. I have feelings. But I think about my parents, they didn't express their emotions and their
No.
feelings. Right. So
Yes.
that was a generational curse for me,
Yeah.
passing that on to her. But I'm glad she's still young. She's 23. And now we can talk about it. And like today she called and I'm like, well, I'm feeling this way or I'm feeling that way. And she was like, Mommy, you're starting to open up. And I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
because this is what you need in order to be able to know that this is the right thing to do. And so I'm
Yes.
willing to make that change and come out of my shell
Yes.
so that it could help her. So hopefully,
Yes.
if you're out there, my generation, I'm 61. My parents didn't express emotions.
No. I'm seeing my dad at 90 now,
Right.
not to tell his business like that, but he is so emotional. And I'm thinking, how did this? My dad's mother died when he was 13 years old, when he was 13. His father was not there.
Hmm.
And so now I look at my dad, like, how did he raise? Because he had other children before me and my brother. How did
Right.
he do that? So some of the things that I was holding against him in my teenage angst, and he
Yes.
didn't say, and now I'm looking at it differently. Like, I can't imagine being 13 and on your own, living, sleeping in the bus station sometimes and having no one there to support you. So now I'm like, wow, I give my hats off to him. He did great. Cause I think I'd be
I think once you have kids and you can be able to look back and you like, you know what? They weren't bad. And you know what? And they had their own journey. And
yeah,
that journey entails hurt and pain, just
yeah,
like your journey
yeah,
entails hurt and pain. And
yeah,
so you have to look at a bigger picture
yeah,
of a lot of times they just did what they could do or the best to their ability.
yeah.
And so we have to accept that and say, you know what?
That forgiveness,
Yes. Yes.
that
Yes.
forgiveness. Because when you don't forgive, when it becomes about you, and that's the dying to self. Okay,
Right.
thank you, Lord. That's the dying to self part. When you can take that offense, those things that you could be upset about, those things that you could retaliate for, when
Mhm.
you can lay those things down and say, Lord, I'm going to give it to you. I'm not going to get back. I'm not going to, hold this against them. That's when it becomes, true freedom,
Yeah.
and when you're really walking in your purpose.
That is
But it's
very
it's
true
tough. It's tough, and you need people around you
to
to
help you.
call you out.
Yes.
Yes, and to
Yes.
call it out, to be able to
Mhm.
say, "Girl, man, you are tripping right now." Or it's not that bad, or I understand, but maybe they didn't mean to hurt you, or maybe you
Mhm.
look at it a different way.
Or maybe they're hurting.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. Hmm.
Mhm. So that is good. It is good. And I'm so happy that we're talking about forgiveness because the word says that in order for you to be forgiven, you need to forgive. And
Yes,
so that is a beautiful note. And you know what? If people want to find you, I know we have your website. Well, not your website, but you have a Facebook and an Instagram
I
post.
do.
And yeah,
And I
and
love talking, and I love helping people process the things. That's I really would love to become a life coach and really, really be able to pour out on a good. So I'm going to get my mind focused.
That's right. And we're going to start the life coach and we're going to complete the life coach.
Yes. Yes.
And it's going to be successful.
Yes. Yes. I believe that.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome.